Turf Talk with Drew Miller.
For the 13th episode of Tiger Turf Talk, we host Barbra Leshyn of Flowers by Bee and the Floral Design program of Virginia Tech in the Plant and Environmental Science School. Today we dove into the different aspects of the floral industry to really understand and captivate such a large, enormous industry that can be found throughout the world, and really understand what it takes to be a member of that industry and create something like Flowers by Bee, where you're working with different events from weddings to ceremonies, funerals, different ideas where floral arrangements are prominent. We also got to see different ideas behind the Horticulture Club and the different organizations that Barb works with to better students' education at Virginia Tech. We learned about this competition that she runs the team for, whether it's anything from hardscape to operating machinery. It's just a national event where they get to go and compete among 70 different schools, and it's just a really cool opportunity for our students to hear about and see the future opportunities that lie ahead at any college, really. And we really are excited for our kids to be able to hear different stories behind all of these events, behind the floral industry, and we can't thank Barb enough for her time. She's a fantastic person, and we really are eternally grateful for her time. We hope you guys enjoy this episode of Tiger Turf Talk. Welcome to the 13th episode of Tiger Turf Talk. I'm your host, Drew Miller, with your co-host, Rylan Harris. Today we have a very special guest on, a former professor of mine, Barbra Leshyn. She is a member of the Horticulture department at Virginia Tech, and her specialty is floral design. Still one of my favorite classes to date. I will put that out there. So much fun. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here.
That's great. We're excited to have you here. So what we really want to know is sort of what you do at Virginia Tech and what coincides with that, with your floral design or your floral business. And if you could just sort of give us an overview of what you do and how you deal with both sides of it, and that would be great.
Okay. So as you mentioned, I'm the floral design instructor here at Virginia Tech. I run the floral design program. It's out of the School of Plant and Environmental Sciences. We used to be the horticulture department, and they combined the crop and soil science and plant pathology and horticulture into one school. We're now the School of Plant and Environmental Sciences, and I'm out of that school. So I teach a class of floral design to 84 students a semester. The cool thing about my classes is not just horticulture students. Anybody on the whole campus can take my class. It's actually an art class. It's considered in one part of Virginia Tech, it's what they call critique and design. And it's what part of your core curriculum. And it's also a pathways class. If you guys ever did decide to Virginia Tech and stuff, they have this thing called pathways where you can get a minor and you design it yourself. And it's one of those, like you could pick my class to be in that minor that you designed for yourself. So anyway, I teach floral design here. I also teach a class called Landscape Practicum. And in that class, I teach with the 2-year agricultural technology students. I don't know if you guys know that Virginia Tech has a 2-year program. You're always, if that's something that you're interested in, just look it up online, agricultural technology, and it's a 2-year program out of Virginia Tech. So I partner up with the agricultural technology, and we teach a class called Landscape Practicum. That class, we invite industry leaders in, and they teach the class. So one day it'll be irrigation troubleshooting, another day it'll be irrigation building, and another day we're driving skid steer loaders and mini X's, and another day we're driving zero-turn mowers, and all of it taught by the industry. We climb trees, we do all kinds of things. And it's a way for students to see what kind of jobs they can get when they leave with a degree in horticulture or landscaping from Virginia Tech. So that's one of my teaching. And the other one, the one that we're going to talk about today, is floral design. And as I mentioned, I teach that to 84 students every semester. It's a basic floral design class. Outside of COVID, we would teach you 15 arrangements, and it's an art class. So even though I'm out of a science school, it is an art class. It's all, we have elements and principles of design and color theory, and we apply it to live flowers, and we make these beautiful designs that you guys get to take home and enjoy in your dorms and in your apartments, 15 of them. And if you really like floral design, you can take Floral Design 2, which we just go more in depth with you as a designer. Also, we provide the flowers for most of the events on campus. So if you ever attend a graduation at Virginia Tech, it's probably our flowers that are up on the podium for graduation. If you ever attend a banquet, most likely it's our flowers that are on the table. We get invited or asked to do these big events. So there's a thing called Ut Prosum. And what Ut Prosum is that I may serve, and that I serve also has this Ut Prosum Society. And if you donate more than $100,000 a year to Virginia Tech, they'll invite you back for a long weekend. And so that long weekend has about 4 dinners and a big party in it. And they always ask us to do all the flowers for that event. And that event actually makes like $4,000 for my program. So that's how I sustain my program, is by I actually sell these flowers. And then I also am the coach for the National Collegiate Landscape Competition, which is a large college competition that's nationwide. And every year around 70 universities and 2-year institutions get together at a different university, and the students compete in around 30 events. And these events can be anywhere from landscape design to plant ID to, if anybody's ever done FFA, it's a lot of like those kind of things that, you know, design and identification and all of that. It also, they do plant install, they do a hardscape, there's the big machinery. So there's, like I said, 27 to 30 events that the students compete in. You're competing against 70 other universities. This event is 2,000 people large. So, and about 800 of those are students. So not only is this event cool to go to and compete, you also get to be around 800 other landscape and horticulture students from around the United States. And you get to travel somewhere. We've been to Utah, Colorado, Mississippi, North Carolina. I can't even remember all the places we've gone in Illinois. So we travel for this competition. Virginia Tech was supposed to host it this spring, which means we would have brought 2,000 people to campus, but guess what? COVID. So we had to cancel our hosting of this huge, huge event. So that's another thing I'm very much involved with. It's a student thing. So that's my big 3 things. Gosh, that was a long answer. I'm sorry. Wake up, everybody.
You're totally fine. That's what we're here for. We want to hear about everything that you do. And it's a great group. I had a bunch of friends who were in it. And I almost did it, but there was too many things going on with work and whatnot. So, sorry. Rylan.
So, and what is your exactly like your current role in the program, and how have you seen it evolve from since you talked about the 2 programs combining? How have you seen it evolve since then and even before then?
Yeah. So the interesting thing is that agriculture in general has been taught in universities. I mean, this is a land grant university. Virginia Tech is what we call a land grant university. And what that means is it was an agricultural university. Like, that's the short answer to that. It was made to be this agricultural university. And there's all kinds of land grant universities everywhere. Well, the interesting thing is nowadays, and I think a lot of you would understand this, the society as a whole doesn't really know where our food comes from, and where, you know, like they don't know about raising cattle, and they don't know about, you know, doing dairy or raising vegetables or tobacco or any of that. And so the interest in land grant universities and students wanting to major in any of these fields went down. Like agriculture used to be really big, and nationwide, all over the United States, agriculture has gone down. Students don't want to come major in something that, well, either they're already on a family farm or a landscape, but they don't want to major in something that they think they have to work really hard at, like, And so with the society not quite understanding that if agriculture jobs and landscape jobs did not exist, we would not exist as humans, right? So I know this is, I'm answering a long question, but I'm almost to the end. The cool thing is there was this huge downfall and people really weren't enrolling in programs and agricultural programs. Drew, you probably saw that even in your time here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I did an interview. There was, I was talking about my graduating class and I was one of two for her. So yeah, I completely understand.
People just, was a dying industry. Well, a cool thing that happened serendipitously, really, this whole farm to table movement, people starting to recognize food and where it's coming from. And it's become cool to go to farmers markets, and farmers markets are growing everywhere. They're just not something in a city anymore. Even small, like I have a student who runs, one of my students who graduated from the agricultural technology program, she actually runs the farmers market in her small North Carolina town, like it's a teeny town. So this whole farm to table movement has there's been a resurgence in agriculture. And I think with people starting to understand more, to answer your question, my role here, because you actually asked too, you asked how I've seen it change. Well, what I've seen change is agriculture was big, then it disappeared. It's coming back. People are understanding it. So that naturally makes my role in the university, I'm an advocate for agriculture, for women in agriculture, for minorities in agriculture. Like I'm an advocate. It's like, let's get out there and keep pushing this, because we want students to come to Virginia Tech and get a degree and then go out in the world and show the world that, we're really good at a lot of stuff and we're really, really good at agricultural stuff. So I think that my role as an advocate for this industry. And then I think it's working. I think people are starting to see that we're important in the world. That's
awesome. So I actually met you through a different class before Floral. And I don't really remember the exact story of how you got to be with Floral, but you have a background in Spanish, correct? Am I wrong in saying that?
Yeah, no. I'm
and what the class was Spanish in the green industry, which again was, I tell everybody, it's like, that was probably one of the most useful when you look at the actual industry classes you could take. And I didn't know about floral design, and floral design is actually voted by the students at Virginia Tech as the most popular class on campus. How did you what was your journey to this point where you got to the floral design program and you became the head? And again, it's gained so much popularity over the years. And it was when I was there, and it might've been before, but what was sort of that journey, and how did you get to this area of the university itself?
Yeah. It's so funny. I just fell into everything. Like, so as you guys leave high school and go out into the world, there's going to be all these opportunities, and these opportunities aren't always going to seem linear. And what I mean is that these opportunities, you might be leaving thinking you're going to do one thing, and all of a sudden you're doing another thing, and that's totally okay. And I was extremely lucky to land in passions of mine. So I started in Spanish, and to be honest with you, I grew up in Mexico and South America. So I grew up bilingual. I already knew Spanish. So I thought, well, I'm just going to go to college and major in Spanish, because then I can make an A. And, and that's always a rude awakening when you get to college and you realize like things are actually hard.
Like, dang it. This was supposed to be easy. Dang
this was supposed to be an easy A. And it wasn't. It's like, oh, I have to actually write and read and do stuff. So I majored in Spanish here at Virginia Tech, and I went to school later in life. So I actually already had a family and everything by the time I graduated, even with my undergrad. And then I went to graduate school, and the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences called me up and said the industry wants somebody to teach Spanish to our students. That they say that it's great that they know how to plant a tree, grow a vegetable, lay a brick, but they need to know how to speak Spanish too. And my degree is actually in curriculum and instruction. And what that means is I can write curriculum, like I can develop curriculum. And so that's my second degree. So I had the Spanish degree, I had the second degree in writing curriculum. So they said, hey, will you develop a class that is Spanish specifically for students who are going to go work in landscaping, agriculture, and all, instead of going across campus. And some of you are probably in foreign languages now, and you'll agree with me that all you do is conjugate a verb. And it's like, we want students to do, like, actually be able to say, pick up a shovel. We don't need them to conjugate that verb. We need to be able to say, pick up a shovel. So I developed this class that was more about speaking. And then we also had to learn, you know, if you're in the agricultural community, you're probably working with the Latino community, being that because a lot of people y'all's age don't want to work on farms and landscape industries anymore. The industry really needed this Latino community to come in and help fill in for a lot of places that don't have the manpower and the woman power anymore. So the Latino community comes in to play with agriculture and landscape. So this class needed to learn a little bit about the culture you're going to be working with too. There, you know, cultures are different. Like, you know, within our own United States, we have different cultures. And so cultures are different. That doesn't mean they're bad. So I had to develop a class that not only was I teaching language, but I was also bridging culture gaps and going, hey, this is how we do stuff. This is how they do stuff. Neither is wrong. So there was my Spanish. And I was like, really, you know, that really, I fell into it because I majored in Spanish because I grew up in Latin America. And I taught that for 10, 12 years. And the professor in floral design, who was the professor before me, he was retiring. And sometimes you have to be careful what you say in life. I literally just stood there and was like, well, I'd love his job when he retires. And then, so I got it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm teaching these 2 Spanish classes. I'm like developing a whole new program, because one of the things is he had that program and he taught it for 35 years. So it was 35 years old. It needed to come into the 21st century. So I had to rewrite and develop the program and everything. And then they started asking us, they liked our work. So they started asking us to do all these events. And my plate got too full and I couldn't do both. So we let go of the Spanish, which was not a popular decision. Maybe someday, now with a lot of the online classes and stuff, maybe I could eventually bring it back. But I mean, they couldn't cut me in half and put me in 2 places. So we had to let something go. And universities are about business. And I sat more, you know, I could fill those floral design seats. I can teach. The analytics for my class is there's 84 seats, and every semester over 500 students try to get those 84 seats. So when you have those kind of analytics, the university sees money and they're like, okay, well, you only were teaching 20 kids at a time in the other class. So let's keep the floral design. Let's make some money too. So plus it was a passion of mine. My grandfather was a florist. So that's how I got it. Like literally, I said the words, I love this guy's job. My grandfather was a florist. All of a sudden I have this job, and I actually had to go back to school myself and learn a bunch of stuff about floral design before I could actually teach it.
So I was literally just about to ask you, where did you get your passion for floral design? Because again, you have that background in Spanish and you spend so much time dedicated to, again, getting a master's is not a joke. You know, I got a master's in ag education, and it took a lot of time and a lot of writing. And again, where did the passion for floral design sort of fit into that? And I guess you sort of explained it right there, but how did it sort of fit into that? And how did it sort of take pretty much all your college experience and shift your focus towards something different? You know what I mean?
Yeah, what's really cool. So when I was trying to make this decision of what class to drop, and I told you for the university, it's a money issue. For me, it was, how do I take these two things that I'm passionate about? I mean, I grew up in Latin America. I love speaking Spanish. I love the community. I can bridge so many culture gaps there. And then I have like flowers over here, and I love flowers. I grew up in a florist family. We're all horticulturists in my family. So what do I do? So this is one of my decisions that I made. I decided that the Latinos are going to end up running half the landscape companies in about 10 years anyway. And in many companies, there's already somebody who can speak both languages, and that I think we're in a different place than when I started teaching this Spanish 10 years ago. So floral design, I just loved it. Like I love flowers and I love teaching. Those are and I figured, even though in the Spanish, eventually they wouldn't need me anyways, in flowers, people are gonna get married and die for the rest of the time. So, hey, I have a job till I retire, and the two things so I was like, how can I turn this down? I love flowers. I love teaching. Okay, take this job. You can be doing two things that you really love at one time. And I like to pass that on to my students. Like I like to I tell my students I'm a pusher of flowers.
So you've mentioned there's a really extremely high demand to take the class. So how do you decide who those lucky people are?
The computers do it. So, yep. So they all sign up for the class. All 500 of them sign up for the class, and the computer chooses 84. And so, I think they just opened up, whether they got their courses or not, or they're going to open them up next week. I'll get emails all winter long now asking to be force added to my class. And unfortunately, with COVID, it's even harder to get into my class. We're still doing 84 a semester, but we don't have extra seats that we can fudge an extra person here or there. So yeah, luckily I don't have anything to do with it, because it would be so hard for me to decide. I would cry actually every day. So I'm glad the computer does it. And then students, when they email me and ask me if they can be force added into the class, the criteria is if they're a horticulture student, I'll get them in. Anybody else on campus just has to stay on that waiting list and hope that a seat opens up for them.
So was that my situation? Because I remember I wasn't going to take it, and we were in Spanish class, and you sort of talked, because I think it was me and a couple of turf buddies of mine that you talked to, like, you should take it. I'm like, you know what? I'll do it. Fine. And I got there, and I was one of 3 guys in a class of 84. And I'm sitting here like, maybe I made a mistake. But was that what it was? Was I force added? I don't remember.
I can't remember either. You might have been.
Okay, because I don't know
because
how.
if you and I talked about it and you had already course requested it, you might not have got it. I can't remember, but most likely I force added you in. Here's an interesting thing, Drew. Since you took it, the word has gotten out, and it's now 50-50.
Really?
Guys.
That's awesome.
It's 50-50, and you know who I have a lot of is engineering students.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that weird?
That's
somehow the word got out in engineering, and I think what they do in engineering is they have the students take it to get them out of their analytical minds, because engineering, they're always about, everything is, a formula and analytical, that I think they're like, here, go take floral design where you can use your right side of your brain for a little bit,
So with your program and everything, you obviously play a role with, again, you said with the group that goes to, is it NALP? Is that the right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's NCLC, National Collegiate Landscape Competition, but NALP, National Association of Landscape Professionals, are the hosts, are the people who put.
Gotcha. Is it right to say the Horticulture Club is the group that sort of makes up the group for the most part with that?
Horticulture Club is a big part of it, and they're a big sponsor of it, but we'll take turf kids. We'll take arboriculture kids. We had a math major that went with us for 3 years and did a lot of the maintenance cost estimating things and
Gotcha.
stuff. So we'll take students from all over. But the Hort Club, a huge chunk of them go. Yeah.
Could you explain your role with the Hort Club? Because I remember you were always involved, and there are so many different events that Horticulture Club did, whether it was, again, we have a plant sale every year, and the kids have obviously been a part of it. When I say our plant sale is not that big, guys, I mean it's not that big because of what I saw when I was at Tech. Could you sort of explain your role in the Horticulture Club and give an idea of all the different like activities and different opportunities that come with that?
Yes. So if any of you are at all thinking of going to college, and it doesn't matter where you go, and if you go to a 2-year program or if you go to a 4-year program, join clubs. That is how you meet people. Like I had a student who joined the Jeep Club. I didn't even know there was such a thing on campus. And all they do every weekend is rebuild their Jeeps, take something off of them, put it back on, and then go, mudslinging somewhere.
What's the game in Harry Potter? Any Harry Potter fans in here? What's the name of the game?
I think it's Quidditch, but are you talking about Jeeps?
Jeeps.
Well, I know, but there's a Quidditch club at Tech.
Oh yeah,
Like they play, and they were like national champions when I was there. I was like,
yeah, they're still here. There's still a Quidditch club.
I was just in shock because I actually saw them on the drill field once, and I was like, okay, I thought somebody was messing with me, but I guess not.
Yeah. So I mean, there's something you are interested in. Yeah, if you're a Harry Potter geek, there's a club for you. If you're into Jeeps, there's a club for you. There's clubs like that go hiking, and I think there's even some rifle clubs, and then there's all kinds of sporting clubs and everything. So join a club, because if not, you're going to feel alone. Like it's hard to meet people outside of your classes unless you are living in a dorm. Like, that I always say also live in a dorm the first year, because that way you are going to meet people. If you're just living in your apartment and stuff, you're not going to meet that many people. So my transfer students, especially, I'm like, join a club and join the Horticulture Club, because we're awesome. And the Horticulture Club at Virginia Tech is a club. Everybody has an interest in plants, but you do not have to be a horticulture major. Our president last semester was what was she? Like a bioinformatics or something weird major. So you don't have to be, but we have this common love of plants. We do all kinds of events. So we do service events where we'll go out and work for our community, and whether it's do a small project at a local school, or we've actually gone to high schools and taught floral design. We've done all kinds of I forget what the students, they did something at the high school last year, and I didn't go, but the students went. I can't even remember. They had some sort of ag day, and they went and helped with that. We do a rose sale every Thanksgiving, no, Valentine's Day. We do a rose sale every Valentine's Day. We have a spring plant sale. Our spring plant sale, we gross. So, gross means this is how much money we bring in, but we haven't paid all our bills yet. So we gross over $35,000, $40,000. So that means the club makes about $17,000 off the plant sale. And that sustains the club for every year. And that means, and then the rose sale, we only make a couple $1,000s off that, but our spring plant sale, we make the most. We now have a fall plant sale too, where we sell a lot of indoor plants, because we figure the students are coming in the fall and they want some plants for inside their spaces. And that's about a $5,000 profit sale. It's a smaller sale. If you participate in our spring plant sale, we have a plant sale, 2 plant sale chairs, and we have a plant sale committee. If you participate in that plant sale, you put that on your resume, because you have just run an event that grosses over $35,000, brings in half of that as actual revenue to the club. And it's a lot of work to get to that
like a
point.
small business, honestly. I don't remember who it was, but one of my friends was on it, and I was like, you're spending way too much time on this. And then like you hear that, you're like, you know what? You weren't spending enough time on it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, it's a small pop-up business. Like it's a 1 week thing and it's done, And so that's our biggest thing that we do. But then we take field trips, we go to gardens, and at the end of the year, we have scholarships. So every event that you participate in, you get a point. Every hour that you participate in Hort Club, you get a point. And at the end of the semester, I look at all the points. I look at who I saw out there working, and we give out scholarships. Our two biggest ones are $1,000. And this is like, we hand you a check, like, here's $1,000 check, do whatever you want. And then we have like 700, 500, 200, and then we give out a ton of $100 scholarships just to reward you for being in the club and participating in philanthropy, raking people's yards, helping with the plant sale. We have meetings twice a month. We feed you at every meeting. Well, since COVID, they're online. I hate COVID. So we used to feed everybody, and have guest speakers and all of that. So I can't tell you enough that if you're thinking of going to college, you just have to join a club, and you'll feel more involved. You'll feel like you have friends. You'll feel like you're meeting people. And the more people you know, the more you know about what classes to take and what to avoid. I hear my students talking all the time about favorite classes and classes to avoid and professors to avoid, stuff like that. So join a club. Do it.
You heard it here first, guys. Have fun. Is pretty much what.
Yeah. So many of my students are so worried about their grades and stuff, and I'm like, can you guys have a little bit of fun too, please? Like, go do something.
A smidge, nothing too much.
No, don't overdo it.
So, and I think Horticulture Club, because I remember Alyssa, am I saying that right? Alicia, sorry, Lawless.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Alicia.
I'm still in contact with her because she's a ag teacher as well.
Is she close to you?
No, she's closer to you. Russell County, I think.
Okay.
But I remember she was a big part of the Horticulture Club. That was her thing, and
she ran the plant sale. She was.
Yep, that was one of my. Yep. So one of the things that you talked about already is the events and everything that goes on. The Horticulture Club, am I wrong in saying that does a lot of work for that as well, for events on campus, floral arrangements?
They not as much as the floral design class.
Okay, so the class does it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Either way, A or B. It requires for sure. It requires a lot of time and expertise, and with all the tasks that go into. Again, when you're setting up a professional event, it's nothing to be. Taken lightly, you know what I mean? Whether it's graduation or presidential speeches for Dr. Sands or whatever, what kind of planning goes into those events for you when we're talking about ordering all the way to event prep day of in the moment? What is that process like?
So let's take that Oot Prosum one again too. That's a 3-day weekend event. And they have the people who attend that event donate more than $100,000 a year to Virginia Tech. So they want to impress these people because they want
nothing,
That's
throw that out there.
I will never be part of the Oot Prosum, but I'll deliver their flowers. I guess that's somehow
make friends with them and say, hey, could you throw me a bone? I'll pay you back in 50 years.
So that's a 3-day event, and I would say probably 9 months prior to that event, I have my first meeting with the organizers of the event, and I'll bring students who are going to be involved. So I'll bring 3 or 4 students with me, and we'll go sit. And it's mostly women, but these men and women have ideas. Like Oot Prosum this year's theme is going to be color, or this year the theme is going to be, one time it was books, and we did it in the library. So they'll have a theme, and then we start talking about color and types of flowers and containers and tablecloths and napkins and all of this. And after that meeting, they start narrowing down what their color schemes are going to be, what their tablecloths are going to be, all of that. And we have another meeting where I bring what we call prototypes. So I'll have my I'll come up with the prototype, I'll come up with the design, I'll have my students make a few of them. Then we take our designs and they set them on, like, we'll actually go to the place. One year was at the airport here in Virginia Tech. They had the party inside the airplane hangar. So we took all our designs to the airplane hangar and they put all the different designs on the different tables and different tablecloths, and they chose which designs they wanted. So of course I have to take a lot of pictures of those because we're talking, the event's still 6 months away. I'm going to forget what those things look like, right? So we take a ton of pictures, all of that. So now we have cast in stone, the exact containers they want and the exact flowers and the color scheme that they want. And then about a month prior to the event, I check with them and I get table numbers. So every, Friday night, there's a dinner that's usually like 30 tables. And then Saturday, there's a lunch with the president. That one you have to donate $500,000 or more a year to Virginia Tech. That's the table I want to sit at.
Let me call my bank up real quick. Hold on.
And then Saturday night, there's this huge party. And so about a month prior, I get all the numbers to the exact tables and everything that they want. And I do an order. I order my flowers about 2 weeks, like prior. But I'm in touch with my wholesaler probably about a month before, telling her that it's, getting ready to happen. And we spend the whole week prior to Ootprosum, which is a Thursday, Friday, Saturday event. No, Friday, Saturday event. Oh yeah, we do a breakfast too. We spend the week prior to that making all the designs, and that's where the class comes in. So if you are in the class and you want to be a part of this, you can come in and help us make these designs. And I make that extra credit. I don't make that like that you have to. Now, if you're in Floral Design 2, you have to. But if you are in Floral Design 1, you can volunteer to do it. So that's the time frame. We're talking 9 months out all the way to the event. The other event that we do is we do all the April 16th memorial flowers now. We do sprays for all 32 stones. We do 3 wreaths. We do the War Memorial Chapel. So we do all of those flowers now too. And that one is the class. The students help me with that. So, because that's a lot of work. But we do all the events. And so everything is it takes about a year from idea to execution.
Sounds like a lot of work. The other thing that I sort of want to shift away from class and stuff like that, you run a business. Am I wrong in saying that?
No.
What's the name of that business?
Flowers by Bee.
All right. So Flowers by Bee. Do you run that out of the same shop? Am I wrong in saying that as well?
Here's the thing.
Sorry.
Right. So I'm going to jump the gun here because we're going to talk about how I can do both and not be in trouble.
That's yeah. If you want to do that, that's totally fine. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's the thing. If you work for Virginia Tech and you run a business that's similar to what you teach, you have to sign a thing. It's COI, it's conflict of interest, meaning that what I do in my personal business is also what I do in Virginia Tech. And there could be a possible conflict of interest there. So I have to be very careful. Like I actually, in my personal business, I cannot mention Virginia Tech. I cannot put on, I have to be especially careful in my social media because a lot of times it gets really gray area there that I'll put something on my Virginia Tech Instagram and it's actually a Flowers by Bee flower that I'm design. I'm like, oh, okay, that I could actually get in trouble for. I have to keep them very separate.
No one noticed.
Yeah, it's like, and so how I've done that how I've made it easy on myself. If it's an event that can be paid internally from Virginia Tech, meaning I never touch any money, like for these Ootprosum events and everything, I bill them for their event Like it's usually the UPROSM event is anywhere from $12,000 to $20,000 event. I bill them that event, and then the money shows up in my account. I never touch any money. Where a wedding, a bride would have to give me a check, right? She's not, or the family's not tied to the inside of Virginia Tech. As a matter of fact, I did the president's daughter's weddings, and I did that from my personal account, from my personal business, because they were going to write me a check. They were not paying Virginia Tech to do flowers for their daughter. They were paying me.
Another conflict of interest, if that's
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
So so technically, it's really funny, like everything in life. Technically, I'm not allowed to do any of my work here on campus for Flowers by Bee. So I do as much of it as I can is on site anyways. Like if I'm doing a wedding, most of the things are on site. I'll meet the delivery truck here and then throw the flowers in my car and, you know, take those home. But it was funny when I did the president's daughter, they didn't have any problem with me storing the flowers here. Like, because I was just walking.
I wonder why.
Yeah, kind of like turn their head on that one, right? But I have to be very careful that I'm not using Virginia Tech to promote my business, because that's kind of stealing from Virginia. You know, I can't use the Virginia Tech brand to promote my business, is what, you know, part of that. So I do mostly weddings on my own, and that way it's so separate. And then I do all the big event type stuff through the Virginia Tech Floral Design. The other thing that I do is that I'm what they call a 9-month employee. So when you teach at a university, you can be a 9-month, 10-month, 11-month, or 12-month employee. And 9-month employees, what that means is we get a month off at Christmas and we get 2 months off in the summer. And we, at those, in the summer, those 2 months, I can do any type of job I want to. I still sign a conflict of interest for that. So I'll also do a lot of summer events that are my own business. But anytime Virginia Tech is in session, I run, it's VT Floral Design that does the flowers. Try to keep it.
So when did you begin your business? When was it a concept that became a reality for you? Was it before you became a floral design teacher, instructor? Was it sort of, this is where I'm working on, maybe I could do something and grow something outside of this? Just what was the startup and how did it happen? Was there anything that you needed to create a successful business while you're doing all of, again, the hours and hours of dedicated time to the school?
Yeah. So Virginia Tech is my real job, and you know, that's the one I want to keep, right? It's the one that actually pays the bills. The Flowers by Bee just became a side business kind of by mistake, because people would ask me, will you do my wedding? And I can't do the wedding from Virginia Tech. I can't, because they're going to pay me with a check, and Virginia Tech does not allow me to touch money. So there's a danger there. People who do touch money seem to put it in their pocket. So Virginia Tech doesn't like that, because you're stealing.
Right.
So yeah. So because people would ask me to do weddings, it just started to make sense to separate the two and do weddings in my own business. Everything else that I could be paid internally be VT Floral Design. But I have been asked, I did weddings before I even taught. Like growing up in the floral business, people would be like, hey, will you do my wedding? Will you do this? And so I did flowers. I've done flowers forever, but it became an official business to separate it out from my Virginia Tech stuff. And I said, okay, I'm just going to make this the real deal. And then that way there's no question, it's all out and transparent, out in the open, what I'm doing.
So you talked about a lot of different events, whether it be with your floral company or with the school. Do you have a specific event that you really enjoy that you would say is your favorite event to do?
Yeah. So I would say the one that's most dear to my heart would be the April 16th memorial, right? I was here during the shootings. I lost 2 friends in that massacre. So for me, I have a real personal attachment to when I put those flowers, like I'm about ready to cry right now. When I put those flowers out on those, at the Hokey Stones, you know, for the 32 people and all, it has some meaning because I lived through it. So I would say, sadly, that's one of my favorite events, you know, because I do have this attachment to it, and it helps me feel like I'm giving in some way. When you've experienced something like that, there's survivor guilt, and you're like, you know, what can I do? What can I do? So that for me, I feel like doing the flowers every year, that's something I'm doing, you know, and it's, we're way over 10 years of that. It's old. Like you guys were babies, we're crawling, right? When it was happening. So, for me, it's still there. So I would say that one. Then we love to do the big events, the big donor events, because we get to see all this money that, you know, like this crazy amount. Like they'll just rent out the whole freaking football stadium, and we're doing the flowers for it, you know, and they're having this big party in the football stadium. It's like, God, this is
I mean, $100,000 a person. I mean, hopefully there's something they can do a big party in, right?
Right. And if they're spending $20,000 on the flowers alone, you can imagine what they're spending on the food and the decor and the, you know, everything else. So those are fun. And I will tell you that the events I like the least are weddings.
So I'm gonna
really-
segue into the next question with that, because it is part of the next question. Florists obviously have so much expertise when it comes to design and different aspects that go into that. Like you said, you do 14 different designs with your kids on a semester basis. A big one that a lot of people don't recognize because they don't really see anything but the flowers, but the working relationship with the client. And again, you said weddings, which I was recently in a wedding, and the day of, people are a little antsy, you know, and a little on edge, a little bit. But it's important to know, and I'm curious, could you sort of explain that relationship and how you ensure that you have a positive relationship with people in order to grow the business and again, I think a lot of different things with florists, it's word of mouth. You get more business based on people talking to other people about how you did on their event. You know what I mean? And just sort of, could you explain that and how important it is for not even just your business, but as a florist in general?
Well, I would say any business that's a service industry where you're giving service to the public, the biggest secret to happy people is listening. Listen to your clients. So prior to a wedding, I'm going to interview the bride before I even accept the job. I want to listen. I'm going to listen to what she wants, and I'm going to ask her 100 questions. And I'll probably, and this is like, I like for people who are going to ask me to do their wedding, you better ask me a year ahead of time. So I have a year to get to know you and make sure I want to do this. So the first meeting, here's the thing. If you don't get along with them in that first meeting, all of a sudden I am not available for that date. If they sit there and all the bride and the mother do is argue for the whole hour that you're interviewing them, you don't want to get involved in that mess, right? Why would you take a job where the two people in your whole first interview, all they did was fight each other, you know? No, I'm not getting into that horrid stuff.
Maybe they're good people, you don't know.
Right? Yeah. Well, I hope that the next florist found that out, because I didn't. So in that interview, like, you find out so much, and just listen, and listen to the main person, because the mothers will have ideas, and the fathers will have ideas, and the sister will have ideas, and then the poor bride sitting there thinking, this is my wedding, right? So I ask a lot of questions. I direct a lot of questions to the bride, and I mean, I let them just talk. And listening is the biggest thing you could do for any business. If you're a landscaper, if that's what you want to do, you know, you listen to what they want in that yard. You listen to my kids play every day, or I like to grill out. Okay, he said he likes to grill out, so maybe I should have a grill patio over here for this guy in a basketball court for his kids to play while he's grilling, you know. And so the same thing with the brides, like I'm listening to them. And that's the biggest thing. And once I hear what they like, then I give them the options. Like, hey, so here, let's just, if this was your dream wedding, or if this was your dream event, what would you do? Okay, well, that doesn't match your budget. Or maybe it does match their budget, you know? So let's get, what would you give up, you know? And I think the worst thing now is Pinterest. It's, oh my God. Brides come in and they want, I want
this and this.
everything
Looks
on
great.
Pinterest.
Can I get these three together? You know?
Yeah, everything. I want to do everything I see on Pinterest. And I'm like, no, you don't. First of all,
they slap a binder down with just Pinterest stuff.
Yeah. And that is one of the things I asked, though. I said, let me have access to your wedding Pinterest page. And then you can kind of see, too, where their thoughts are. And, you know, because they might tell you one thing. They might be like, oh, I love roses. And then it's been peonies that they pinned in their Pinterest the whole time. And you're like, okay, wait, is it roses you like or peonies? Because, you know, one or the other. People don't know their flowers. So, you know, you got to work with their budget. You got to listen to what they want. And then it's your job to match the two, their budget to what they want. And if you do all this preliminary work of just talking and listening, really, they eventually let you do your job, you know, and then you can eventually they'll let go and be like, okay, she's listened, she's heard, you know.
I do find it funny how the brides usually have the least amount of say. You know? Right. It's like, wait a second, what? There's
the mothers
so
are
voices
living
talking.
Their life. Yes, the mothers are living their life vicariously through their daughters. And
my mom did this to me. Deal with it. You talked
and you'll
about
too that the richer they are, the more they'll nickel and dime you.
Hey, also, they're rich for a reason, you know.
Why they're rich, exactly. Like, holy cow! But
they want to be able to spend the $100K on Virginia Tech, you know.
Right, but I've never understood, like, they're spending, you know. So let's just take an average wedding, right? I don't know. I work with different ones, but let's say you're spending $20,000 on your venue, and you are nickeling diming the $2,000 florist and the $3,000 photographer, you know, and they're the two that are going to be. He's, you know, he or she, the photographer, is going to be making sure you look good. You better pay them well. And the florist the flowers are going to be in every picture. You better pay them well too. So, you know, think about where you want to spend your money. You want the pretty things.
That venue better be super nice. You were talking about it before, and in your process, sort of leading up to the event, you order your flowers.
Oh yeah.
Cut flowers are such a massive industry that people really don't realize, in a sense, and not because of them, but because florists create these incredible arrangements from the products of those companies that are wholesale cut flowers. Could you sort of give an idea with your purposes, whether it's for class or for your business, what is your process in selecting certain cut flowers, and how big are your orders? What would be something that the kids could understand about that industry as a whole?
Well, as far as my class is concerned, I would say I spend $1,000 a unit on flowers easily. Some of them $1,000 to $1,400 on per unit, because I'm 84 arrangements per unit, so I have to order quite a few flowers. You take an arrangement that has 10 insertions, and then you times that times 84, you know, that's 840 stems of flowers that you're having to order. And flowers are expensive. That's something I like to have my students leave with, is a knowledge and appreciation for the cost of flowers, and that they'll pay for them, because somebody has to grow them and ship them. And, you know, there's a lot of things that go into flowers. When I order, it's math. I make an arrangement. I count how many stems I inserted into that arrangement, and I times it times 84. And and then I order, you always have to order extra because things break and die and, I'll get lost. So I usually order about 10 extra stems of everything that I buy per unit, per flower. And for Virginia Tech, I order all of those. So like for this fall semester, which starts the end of August, I have that order in by August 1st. And they just know my order for the whole semester. Like I give them a date, like I pre-order everything, and then I don't have to worry about it. If I had to worry every week about what flowers are coming in, something would fall through the cracks. So I order all my flowers in August. Then I don't think about it again. They just show up every Thursday and Friday. For my personal business, I pre-order. I let my wholesaler know about 6 weeks prior to a event. Hey, this is the color scheme. This is what I'm looking for. Make sure I have availability. That gives me time to talk to the bride. Like, oh, I'm sorry, they don't have orange roses this time of year. What are we going to do now? So it gives me some time. And then I do my hard order 2 weeks prior, and then they deliver about a week prior to that. Was that your question?
So do you like someone will see and go, oh, I know the Virginia Tech lady did it? Like, do you have a
Yeah, actually, if you've been a student of mine in my class, you will know that I do very modern design. I don't do big overflowing, like I'm now, if it's your wedding and you want me to do big and overflowing, I'll do whatever you want. You pay me the money, I'll do it. But if you were to look at one of my personal designs, it's very modern, very linear. I don't know if you're familiar with Japanese ikebana, which is a very linear design.
Sun, what is it? The sun, the moon, and the earth, or something? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, heaven, man, and earth.
I tried.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do kind of this what we call line design or a line mass design, where it's more linear, more modern looking than your very it's not Victorian, it's not like real country, it's kind of very, very modern, clean lines. You would know it's me.
With everything that you do in your designs and within the community in Blacksburg, you do host events, and I don't know if it's through the Horticulture Club, whatever, but what is your community outreach when it comes to your floral program? Whether it's having a night or whether it's workshops is what I'm looking for. I apologize, I can't think straight.
Yeah, so I do quite a few different things. So it's really interesting to have a university in a town, right? And there can be conflicts. So Virginia Tech is very aware that we have to be friends with the community that, 27,000 students, now 30,000 students, descend upon this town every year. So we got to be kind to those people. That's how we came with the big event. Did you ever do the big event?
I did. Yep. It was great.
Yeah. So the big event is a weekend that like all the clubs and students go out and work in the community for the weekend, and they'll rake, they'll paint, they'll build stuff. So anyway, floral design, I will do workshops. Like I'll do a pumpkin mania where they'll around Halloween and Thanksgiving, where we'll do designs and pumpkins, and the town people can sign up for this class, and it's a minimum cost, like $40, $50, and then they leave with a really cool arrangement. We'll do Christmas wreaths, we'll do cornucopias around Thanksgiving. So I do those kind of classes for the local community. And then I've even done like cool things. Like I happen to have a Haitian student in my Spanish class, which you can imagine, he tried to speak French all the time. So I had a Haitian student in one of my Spanish classes, and he graduated, and then he went to graduate school. And how many years ago was this? Like 6 years ago, there was a big hurricane that devastated Haiti. And so he asked if there was anything we could do. He was trying to rebuild farms down there and bring them seed and all after the hurricane. So we did a thing where we sold flower arrangements, and all the proceeds went to him to buy money for, to buy seeds and stuff for his program in Haiti. So we'll even, like, if something like that comes up, we'll do that kind of thing to help out.
I know who you're talking. My brother actually went down and helped on a service trip with him
Okay.
when he was in school. So yeah, that was a crazy story. Saw that. That's awesome. Well, I lost my train of thought. I apologize. Could you sort of give the kids an idea of how broad the floral industry is and the opportunities there are out there? I mean, I sort of talked about it with them. I mean, you're talking about one day like Valentine's Day where I couldn't fathom the number of roses sold from floral shops all across the country, across the world, across everything. Could you just sort of give them an idea of the immense opportunity out there in the floral industry?
Yeah. So I'm looking at my phone right now because I'm going to I actually have a number. Hang on. Business right here. I'll give you some numbers. So the floral industry is huge, and you have to think, if what you like is nursery work and growing flowers, then you do that, right? You become a grower and learn how to grow flowers. The other Alicia, not Lawless, Alicia Nestor, she just got married.
Yep.
She went into growing, right? So she grows flowers. So if that's what you like to do, you do that part of the industry. I mean, and then there's the science. There are people who are actually developing flowers, and that sounds weird because it's a natural resource, right? It's a natural thing that grows on a plant. Well, you can actually patent a flower. You develop this flower, you get the right color, you get the right petal shapes, and you perfect, like, over years and years of propagation. You propagate the exact plant. You can patent that, and then every time it's sold, you get some money. Every time that plant is sold. David Austin roses are a great example. That family, every time a David Austin rose is sold, whether in a bush or on a stem, they're making money because they patented that one rose. So you can go all the way down to that in the flower industry. Then you have my wholesaler, where you're actually the middleman buying flowers from countries all over the world and making sure florists have them. Then you have your mom and pop shops, right? And then, like in any industry, we have our football stars, the football star that in high school. Then we have our football stars in colleges, and then we have our NFL football stars. Well, you have the same kind of thing in the floral industry. We have our rock stars too. So we have the rock star florists who are making flowers for the Kardashians or the Trumps or whoever. They're making the flowers for these big names. Well, they're getting paid some bank because it's not Blacksburg prices, I'm telling you. So we have our rock stars too. We have the people who are making $1 million, right? But on average, people like me, or, we have your own business, it's a labor of love. You definitely need to have a 2-person income in that house because it's a labor of love. You're not going to be a millionaire in Blacksburg by owning a florist. If you're a good business person and you incorporate gifts and other type of things in your stores, you'll make a decent living. Absolutely. But it's not the $80,000 a year job. I'll tell you that right now. It is definitely a labor of love, and I love it. And I much rather, well, in my case, I much rather teach than anything in the world. All right. On Valentine's Day alone, we are talking 200 million roses are sold. 200 million stems of roses on Valentine's Day alone. And there's other flowers being sold that day. So it's not, it's,
2 million's a big number.
it's a huge number. So yeah, that's the answer to that.
Sounds good. I'm sure this has happened, and I'm curious because I've had situations like this come up in turf grass where I had to last minute figure stuff out. Was there ever an event that you were the florist for where you had a disaster? Say the flowers were in bad shape when they arrived or something along those lines. What did you do exactly, and how did you fix the issue at hand at such a short term? And again, when we talk about you can't get flowers delivered the same day that they came in wrong, how have you handled those kind of situations?
Yeah. So luckily, I have spoken with my wholesaler enough. I have not run into like a whole batch of flowers coming in wrong, like that would ruin a whole wedding. I've had small things happen. And the two that are standing out right now in a wedding, one time the wedding was at Clater Lake, which is 40-minute drive from Blacksburg from here. So we loaded up the car. We went to Clater Lake. We set up the whole wedding. Guests were starting to arrive. The wedding party was starting to arrive. The whole thing is set up. It's absolutely gorgeous. It was an outdoor wedding. And I'm like, I forgot the flower girls baskets. I can't swear on here, but I swore. And what I did was I decided that the bride's flowers girls weren't going to hold baskets. They were going to hold hoops. And there was a willow tree. I climbed that flipping willow tree and I cut willow branches out and I made little wreath hoops right there. And we have extra flowers. We always have extra flowers because of flowers break and stuff. And I'm like wiring and gluing flowers onto these hoops. And I'm like, I just told the bride, I was like, I just made these beautiful hoops for your flower girls. I thought they would be really nice. And because by the way, the baskets are in Blacksburg. But I told her after there was something to give her, right? Instead of telling her, hey, by the way, I don't have baskets. And then she's flipping out. It's like, here is your alternative to what I just screwed up. So that worked out fine. And the other thing is when we did the event in the airplane hangar here at Virginia Tech, I got an airplane propeller and I
was going to say, did the jet blow everything off? Like if they turn a jet on by accident, oops, I wasn't supposed to do that. Sorry. Go ahead.
They didn't turn the jet on. They had the jet in there, the Virginia Tech jet, and so that people could tour it and stuff. But I took an airplane propeller and I did this really cool, and this airplane propeller was 8 feet tall. Okay. It was a real one. And I did this really cool floral design with it. We took it into the airplane hangar. We hung it up and it immediately fell and just was done. My assistants, like everybody's just standing because of course it makes the hugest noise in the whole world. And everybody's just standing there. And I was like, just pick it up, go put it back in the truck. It's not, and I looked at the event planners and I said, we're not charging you for that. And we just took it away, cleaned up the mess, and we just didn't charge them for that one, And I actually was so grateful that it fell when we were still there and not when a $500,000 a year donor was standing next to it. So it was probably a good thing that it fell when I put it up there and not later when somebody was partying and knocked up against it.
I'm sure Virginia Tech appreciated you thinking of the people donating the money. So we're gonna wrap it up. We always ask this at the end. With high school students on here, obviously, we want to sort of get you to give your words of wisdom for our students who are looking to enter the world whether it's in floral or whether it's in something completely different like engineering or whatever, what would be
Yeah.
your words of advice for them?
I have a couple things. I would say number one, I'm going to start with number one. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. So often we don't succeed or we don't do something because we're afraid to make that first step. If you don't make the first step, it ain't happening. So do not be afraid to put yourself out there. Most of you are coming from a smaller place to going to a bigger place. That is scary as hell. Like you know, rightfully so. But the only way you're going to be able to go to the next step is if you put yourself out there. So don't be afraid. So if it's something like if you want to go to college, then you need to go visit a college. Then you need to talk to Drew. You need to talk to people who've done it and say, how did you get from point A to point B? Because I'm going to do that too. That's what I want to do. And it doesn't even have to be college. Not everybody has to go to college, but maybe you have a passion for something, you know, maybe you want to, you know, this whole farm to table movement. Maybe you want to just go out there and grow something to sell at a farmer's market. So go find your resource and say, hey, I want to do this. How do I do this? Don't be afraid to put yourself out there and to ask questions and to do that. And I think at y'all's age, that is the hardest thing to do. You're terrified to do that. And I get it. You know, I'm old now, but I was there. And the only way I've succeeded in life is when I finally made a decision to take that first step. If you don't take it, you're not going to get anywhere. So put yourself out there, take that first step and use your flipping resources. You have adults all around you. You have one sitting right here that I've been talking to that I knew as a college student. You did it, you know, you got there. You would happily share with people how you got there. You know, it's not easy to make that first step. Do it. And nothing is easy. So don't think that then when you get out there, it's going to be handed to you. It's not. You're going to have to work for it. Nothing is easy. But man, if you go out and you do what you're passionate for, or you go to school and you're willing to work hard, you're going to get rewarded. If you're going to sit back and think the world owes you, you're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to be an unhappy person because the world doesn't owe you a thing. You need to get out there and work for it because nothing's easy. And boy, are you going to get rewarded. I love what I do. And it was not easy to get here. It was not easy to get here. Like there's a lot, you know, there's weeks and weeks of stories of roadblocks for me in a career, especially as a woman. If I got any women out there in the agriculture field, you have an extra roadblock. You're a woman. So sorry about that, but you know, don't let them, there are plenty, if you do go to college, there's a lot of organizations and sororities that you can join that are agriculturally minded, and they have great guest speakers and they can get you out there. And the other thing is it's never too late. Like say you decided not to graduate. I mean, not to graduate. No, you're going to graduate, darn it. They did not say that. I mean, if you decide not to do something after you graduate right away and 3 years go by and you're like, God, I really wish I'd gone to college. Well, do it. Make that first step 3 years from now. It's okay if you make a mistake leaving high school. Oh my God, you're young. You can make mistakes and you can try again. It's never too late to do it again. It is never too late. If you come to campus, we have students who are 18 and we have students who are 60. It doesn't matter. Like when you're ready, you do it, you know, whatever it is. And I keep using college because I'm a college professor. This is what I do. But, you know, that's not for everybody. And anything in life, it's never too late to start something new, especially at y'all's age. Lord, you got the world ahead of you, and you got so much more available to you than you realize. You really do. And then my last thing is treat everyone that you meet in this world as they're going to be your next boss. Treat them with respect and kindness and smiles, and you're going to get far. If you go places with bad attitude, you're not gonna, it's not good. But if you go to college and you're like open and happy and embrace, and like my best friend here every day I walk in is my custodian. I love that woman. And I make sure she has free flowers every week because she brings me extra paper towels. She brings me all kinds of really cool stuff because I treat her with respect. So just treat everybody you meet with respect and kindness, and you're going to get far. with all of those things, you're going to get far in life. Believe in yourself. Just believe in yourself.
You hear that, guys? Always be respectful. Always be that person, okay? People like the people who are respectful. I'll tell you that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
We want to thank you so much for coming on. What do you guys say?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You are very
Thank
welcome.
you.
Good luck with life.
We really
It's
appreciate
awesome.
it. We really do. I hope you have a great rest of your year. Hopefully 2020 ends better than it started. That is.
Hell,
All right. You take care now.
alrighty. Okay.